I'm Allison, 34, a chef who turned our family's Seattle spot, Parker's Bistro, into a culinary treasure. For 12 years I sweated over flames, designed signature plates, and secured a $1 million contract with Pacific Lux Hotels. Then my parents chose my younger sister, Courtney, who can't even tell a whisk from a spatula, to be CEO. I walked away taking my deals with me, and 1 week later they lost that $1 million contract. When my father called, sounding desperate, I told him, "Ask your new CEO. If you've ever been pushed aside in a family business, keep listening. Like, subscribe, and share your own story below." Let's talk about knowing your value. Parker's Bistro rests in downtown Seattle, a warm place where the smell of garlic and lemongrass sizzling in pans pulls in crowds from Pike Place to Capitol Hill. My grandfather, Raymond Parker, opened it in 1978, transforming a rundown diner into a hub for American Asian fusion. Growing up, I never played with dolls. I played with spoons and pans, helping Grandpa Raymond nail down his soy-glazed short ribs. By 16 I was chopping vegetables in the back, absorbing the rhythm of a busy kitchen. That's where my passion grew, and it's what drove me to make Parker's Bistro a trusted name. After training at Le Cordon Bleu and earning a marketing degree from the University of Washington, I came back in 2013 determined to raise our family legacy. My parents, Kenneth and Lori, seemed thrilled, or so I thought. I poured 12 years into shaping Parker's into a brand. I created the famous tangerine glazed lobster, the dish that landed us in Food and Wine magazine. I built our social media from barely a dozen followers to 50,000 with sizzling poke bowl clips going viral. Most of all, I closed a $1 million partnership with Pacific Lux Hotels, a hotel chain that wanted our recipes across their West Coast dining rooms. That deal wasn't just money, it was proof of success. But my parents had another idea. Last January, we gathered for our family meeting in the bistro's private dining room, walls covered with Grandpa Raymond's black and white photos. My dad, Kenneth, cleared his throat, his usual sign he had news. Mom, Lori, sat beside him sipping coffee, her face blank. Courtney, my younger sister by 3 years, scrolled through her phone, barely listening. I leaned forward, expecting to hear about expansion plans. I'd even suggested a second restaurant in Portland. About our leadership structure, Dad began, his tone stiff. "Your mom and I have decided it's time to appoint a CEO for Parker's Bistro. We think Courtney is ready to take over." The whole room fell silent. My fork stopped midair, a piece of braised pork dangling. Courtney lifted her eyes from her phone, smirking like she'd just been crowned. I stared at Dad, waiting for a joke. Courtney, my sister, who'd spent summers at tech internships, who'd never held a chef's knife, who once burned a pot of rice so badly we had to toss it. She was now in charge of my kitchen. "Dad, I don't get it," I said, my voice tighter than intended. "I've managed the kitchen, the menu, the partnerships for years. I secured Pacific Lux. I have culinary training and a marketing degree. Courtney has an MBA. Dad cut in, his voice firm. "She's got the business knowledge to grow this place. You're talented in the kitchen, Allison, but leadership needs wider vision." "Wider vision," I repeated, heat climbing up my chest. "I doubled our profits. I got us into every food festival from here to San Francisco." "What's Courtney achieved?" "Ruined our anniversary dinner last year. Forgot half the ingredients." Courtney rolled her eyes. "Relax, Allison. You're good at cooking, but I'm the one who can scale this brand. We don't need your fancy lobster dishes clogging the menu." "Clogging the menu?" I snapped. "That's so-called fancy lobster is why Pacific Lux signed with us. It's our #1 seller." "Enough, Dad," said, raising a hand. "This isn't about who's better. Courtney has the skills to take us higher. You'll keep running the kitchen, Allison, under her leadership." "Under her leadership." The word smacked like a slap. I looked to Mom, hoping she'd speak, say something. She just stirred her coffee, avoiding my gaze. "It's what's best for the business," she muttered. I leaned back, my mind spinning. For years I'd worked 16-hour days, adjusting recipes till midnight, winning over suppliers, presenting to hotel execs. I built bonds with people like Eric Marshall, the senior Pacific Lux rep, who trusted me because I always delivered. And now, My parents believed Courtney, whose highlight was a PowerPoint on cost-cutting, could lead better than me. The meeting dragged on as Dad explained Courtney's transition plan. She'd start making choices right away, like trimming the menu. We're wasting cash on small batch meals, she argued, flicking her hair. I say we stick to high-volume dishes. Burgers, fried rice, meals we can push out quickly. That's not our identity, I shot back, gripping the table. People come for rare flavors, not fast food. Our tangerine lobster has a 3-week wait list. Allison, you're too focused on details, Dad said, his voice condescending. Courtney's thinking big picture. You'll adapt. Adapt. As if I was some line cook needing to fall in line. I looked at Courtney, her smug grin searing into me. She'd always been the golden child, praised for half effort because she had a diploma. But this was my life's creation. In the week that followed, the disrespect built up. Courtney began critiquing my menu, scribbling comments like, too pricey beside my miso-glazed cod. She barged into the kitchen mid-service, ordering changes while plates were going out. Once she told Ryan, our manager, to cancel a shipment of premium scallops because the price was high. Ryan phoned me later, angry. Allison, she's going to wreck our standards. What do I do? I had no oomph. Day by day my role shrank. Dad deferred to Courtney on everything from contracts to marketing plans. During a meeting with our wine supplier, he introduced her as the future of Parker's Bistro and me as Allison, who runs the kitchen. Runs the kitchen. Like I was just peeling onions. The final straw came at a staff meeting, 10 days after Courtney's promotion. We had a full house line out the door for our monthly chef's table night. I had spent weeks designing the menu, pairing each course with local wines. Courtney stood up without warning, announcing her vision to the staff. We're cutting half the specialty items, she declared, holding a spreadsheet. They don't scale. Allison's been indulgent, but now we need profit. Indulgent? I'd reached my limit. Those meals are why we're booked solid, I said, standing. You want a burger shack? Fine. But don't pretend it's strategy. You don't even know what's in our food. The room froze. Courtney's face flushed red. You're out of line, Allison. Now. Maybe you should stick to cooking. I glanced at Dad, waiting for him to defend me. He just sighed, shaking his head. Let's calm down, he said. Courtney's in charge. We believe in her. Believe in her, not me. Not the woman who built this place. From a local eatery into a national brand. I stormed out of that meeting, my hands trembling, standing in the alley behind the bistro, the city's hum drowning my thoughts. I poured everything into Parker's. My ideas, my sweat, my sleepless nights, and they chose Courtney with her spreadsheets and zero kitchen skill as the better bet. That night I called Holly, a friend who runs Lotus Eatery across town. Over coffee at a late-night diner. I vented it all. The meeting, Courtney's arrogance, Dad's betrayal. Holly listened, her eyes steady. Allison, you're one of Seattle's best chefs. If this wasn't your family's restaurant, would you stay? No, I admitted instantly. I'd leave. Then why stay now? She asked. Your grandfather built that bistro, but you gave it life. Don't let them dim your fire. Her words stayed with me. I went home and started listing what truly belonged to me. My recipes, my supplier lists, my deal with Eric. Those weren't company assets, they were years of trust one had built. My family couldn't recognize that. I'd show them what they were about to lose. By morning I knew what choice I had to make. I wasn't only stepping away from work, I was stepping away from a family that refused to see me. I still kept showing up, running the kitchen, handling orders. But every step I took was under her constant watch. Courtney, armed with her MBA and zero time behind a stove, started acting like she'd been running Parker's forever. Her so-called strategy was a wrecking ball, and I was standing right in front of it. That first week I played along, hoping Dad would eventually notice. During a menu meeting I revealed a new dish, seared scallops. With yuzu butter, a guaranteed favorite from test runs. Courtney barely looked at. Too narrow, she said, tapping her pen against her tablet. We need things that scale. Allison. Think chicken wings, not scallops. Chicken wings. I repeated. In disbelief. Our guests book tables weeks in advance for plates like this. That's what sets us apart. She smirked, leaning. But you're buried in the details. I'm looking at national growth. Streamlined menus, cheap ingredients. Your fancy dishes don't belong. I turned to Dad, who was flipping through Courtney's spreadsheet. She has a point, he murmured, not even looking at me. We can't afford to keep chasing after awards. Awards? That's what he called the food and wine spotlight that had filled our dining room. I bit down on my tongue, but the sting didn't fade. Mom, as always, stayed silent, nodding along like Courtney's plan was gospel. I walked out of that meeting feeling smaller than ever. 12 years of work, dismissed as nothing but fancy plates. Courtney's interference only grew worse. He began emailing suppliers, questioning every agreement. Denise Hart, who'd been delivering our top-quality seafood for years, called me confused. Allison, your sister wants us to switch to frozen shrimp. She says it's cheaper. I thought you handled the sourcing. I do, I said, gripping the phone hard. At least I did. Ignore her for now. Denise. I'll handle it. But handling it meant fighting Courtney at every turn. She barged into kitchen prep, scribbling notes while servers dodged around her. She told Kristen, one of my best line cooks, to speed up mid-rush, nearly sending a plate to the floor. Kristen cornered me afterward, furious. Allison, she has no clue. Why is she even giving orders? I had no good reply. Courtney's calls weren't just poor, they were dangerous. She canceled a marketing campaign I'd organized for the Seattle Food Fest, saying it was too pricey. That same campaign had brought in 10,000 new followers the year before. When I reminded Dad, he just shrugged. Courtney's the no. You'll have to trust her. Trust her? I had trusted my family to see my worth, but they turned away. Each day I felt my role slipping through my fingers. That started cutting me out of talks, asking Courtney about partnerships I had created. On a call with Eric from Pacific Lux, Dad introduced her as our new head and me only as the chef. Who'd worked with me for 3 years sounded surprised. Allison's always been my contact, he said. Courtney jumped in fast, promising exciting updates. I stayed quiet, my stomach in knots. The insults piled up, but I kept going, telling myself I could still prove my worth. Then came the Friday staff meeting, just 2 weeks into Courtney's role. We were prepping for a private party, a tech firm's product launch, 50 guests, 5 courses. I'd spent days perfecting the pairings, every dish matched with local craft beers. The team buzzed with energy, ready to deliver. Courtney strolled in late, clutching her laptop. Quick update, she said, cutting me off mid-brief. We're streamlining things. Next week, 3 dishes are gone from the menu. The tangerine lobster, the miso cod, and the yuzu scallops. Too expensive. The room fell silent. Ryan, our manager, glanced my way, his jaw clenched. Those are our bestsellers, I said, standing. They're the reason people come here. You can't just. I can, Courtney snapped. I'm Sue. We're bleeding money on your luxury ingredients. Burgers and fried rice are cheaper, faster, and sell better. Bleeding money? I fired back. Those dishes bring the highest profit margins. I've got the data to show it. Dad lifted his hand. Allison, enough. Courtney's run the numbers. We're moving ahead. I stared at him, heart pounding. Run the numbers? Courtney hadn't spent 5 minutes in the kitchen to even know our plus. I'd done those calculations myself, late nights balancing profit with quality. And now my own father was choosing her over me. Fine, I said, my voice like ice. If you want Parker's to turn into a fast food chain, go ahead. But don't expect me to stand by and watch. I pushed out the door, letting it slam behind me. The alley outside was still, the hum of Seattle's streets faint in the distance. I leaned into the brick wall, my breath unsteady. I had poured everything into this place, my vision, my endless nights, my heart. And they believed Courtney, with her half-cooked plans, was the future. That evening I sat across from Holly at a diner near Pike Place. Holly, who owns Lotus Erie, had mentored me since culinary school. Over greasy fries and bitter coffee I spilled everything, the story of Courtney's takeover. Dad brushed me off. Mom stayed quiet. Holly listened closely, her face calm but sharp. Allison, she said, setting her cup down. You're one of the finest chefs I know. You turned Parker's into what it is. If this were just some corporate job, would you stay? No chance, I said without thinking. I'd be gone instantly. Then why make an exception? She pressed. Because it's family? Your grandfather may have opened that bistro, but you're the one who turned it into a name. You don't owe them your soul. Her words cut deep. I thought of Grandpa Raymond, how he believed in me to carry his dream. He never would have handed it to someone like Courtney. But Dad, he was ready to pass it over without hesitation. That night I went home and started taking stock. My dishes, the tangerine lobster, the miso cod, weren't just recipes. They were mine, refined over years. My supplier relationships, like Denise Hart's, were built on trust with me, not with Parker's. My partnership with Eric came from long nights, taste tests, and promises I always kept. Those things weren't company property. They belonged to me. By morning I knew my choice. I wouldn't stay where I wasn't respected. But leaving alone wasn't enough. I had to protect what I'd made. I saved my files, supplier emails, Pacific Lux contracts, marketing drafts. The official paperwork stayed with Parker's, but the relationships, the trust, those were mine to keep. Monday I stepped into Dad's office, the small space crammed with receipts and framed reviews. He looked up, startled. Allison, what's going on? We've got the tech event tonight. No, I said, placing my resignation on his desk. You've got it. I'm done, starting now. His face drained of color. Don't be absurd. You can't just walk out. This is your family's business. It's not mine anymore, I replied, my voice steady. You made that choice when you handed it to Courtney. I'm not working under someone who doesn't understand a single thing about what we do. He rose, voice sharp. You're blowing this out of proportion. Courtney's still learning. You're still head chef. Head chef. I laughed bitterly. You mean a line cook taking orders from your CEO? No thanks, Dad. I'm worth more. He stared at the letter, unopened. You'll regret this, Allison. You can't walk away from your legacy. My legacy, I said, turning for the door, is what I created. Good luck with Courtney's burgers. As I walked out, I felt fear and freedom twist together inside me. Parker's Bistro had been my world, but staying meant losing myself. I wasn't just leaving a job, I was choosing me. I found a small apartment in Belltown, only 10 minutes from the bistro but miles away from its chaos. For a few days I left my phone off, needing silence, needing air. When I finally turned it on, the flood of notifications told me everything I needed to know. Parker's was crumbling without me. My inbox overflowed. 32 missed calls, 50 texts, 70 emails. Most from suppliers and staff confused about orders and shifts. Ryan, our manager, left a tense voicemail. Allison, this place is chaos. Courtney's giving mixed instructions and the kitchen's a wreck. Call me back. I didn't. I had warned them and they chose her. Let them face it. But the messages kept coming. Denise Hart, our seafood supplier, texted. Courtney's asking for frozen fish in bulk. Is this correct? You always demand it fresh. I sighed, picturing our tangerine lobster replaced with cheap tilapia. Kristen, a line cook, sent a panicked message. Allison, Courtney changed the menu mid-service. Customer sent back half the plates. What's happening? My stomach twisted. These weren't just coworkers. They were my team, the ones I'd trained, laughed with, sweated beside. But I couldn't step in. Not anymore. By day 5, the cracks were visible to the public. A food blogger called me after dining there. Allison, I heard you left. The service was sloppy and the miso cod tasted wrong. Is the bistro changing direction? Kept my tone even. I'm not there anymore. Ask the new CEO. Her silence told me she'd caught the edge in my voice. The real blow landed on day 8 when Eric from Pacific Lux called. He and I had spent 3 years building our partnership. Tasting, refining, creating menus for their West Coast hotels. That $1 million contract wasn't just about food. It was trust. His voice was professional but tight. Allison, what's going on at Parker's? I met your sister yesterday. It was a disaster. I sank onto my couch, bracing myself. I'm no longer with the bistro, Eric. Courtney's in charge now. Yeah, I figured, he said flatly. She brought a slide deck on cost savings but couldn't answer basic questions about your menu. She talked about cutting signature dishes for cheaper options. That's not what we signed for. My jaw clenched. She said that. She pitched burgers and generic stir-fry, Eric replied. claimed it would streamline service. I asked about the tangerine lobster. She didn't even know the recipe. Allison, our contract was based on your quality, your vision. If that's gone, so are we. His words hit heavy. Pacific Lux wasn't just a client. They were a third of Parker's revenue. Losing them would bleed the place dry. I'm sorry, Eric, I said quietly. I can't fix this anymore. I know, he said softer. I'm giving you respect with this call. I'll recommend pulling the contract. But if you're starting somewhere new, tell me. We'd love to work with you. When the call ended, I stared at the bare walls around me. Part of me felt vindicated. I had warned them Courtney wasn't ready. But another part ached. For the bistro, for Grandpa Raymond's dream, for the staff who'd suffer. That evening, my phone lit with Dad's number. I let it ring. His voicemail came, voice strained. Allison, we need to talk. The suppliers are confused. Call me. An hour later, another message. The kitchen's struggling with the new menu. We need your help. By midnight, a third. Pacific Lux is pulling out. $1 million. Allison, please call. I didn't. Not then. The next morning he rang again. This time I answered. Dad, I said, my voice steady. Allison, thank God, he breathed, words tumbling out. We're in trouble. Eric says Pacific Lux is done with us. He's furious about Courtney's meeting. Says we're changing the menu in ways that betray their expectations. $1 million, Allison. We can't lose this. I know, I said. Eric already called me. He called you. Dad's voice spiked. What did he say? That Courtney pitched fast food garbage. I said, not sugarcoating it. That she doesn't understand the menu, or the vision we promised them. He's pulling the contract because the trust we built is gone. Dad went silent for a beat, then his tone turned urgent. You need to come back, talk to Eric, smooth things over. You know how to manage him. I gave a sharp, bitter laugh. Manage him, Dad? I created that partnership from the ground up. 3 years of tastings, adjustments, late-night emails. You think I can just stroll in and fix Courtney's disaster? You're the only one who can. He said, this is your family's business, Allison. We need you. The words cut deep, not because they were untrue but because they were far too late. If you really needed me, then why'd you choose Courtney? I asked. I was running everything. Kitchen, partnerships, marketing. You pushed me aside for someone who can't even name our signature dish. It wasn't about pushing you out, he said, defensive. Courtney's got the business know-how. We assumed you'd stay on as head chef. Head chef under Courtney? I said, that's not a role, Dad. That's a downgrade. You made your choice and now you're facing the fallout. He exhaled hard. What do you want me to say? That we blew it, fine. We should have consulted you first, but we're losing $1 million. Come back, Allison. My grip tightened on the phone, my resolve firming. If you want my help, it's not about me returning just to clean up. It's about acknowledging my worth. Equal partnership, real power, not some hollow title. Another pause. We can talk about that, he said carefully. But we need to fix things with Pacific Lux right away. Can you call Eric? Oh, I said steady. Not until we're aligned. I'm not rescuing you just to be shoved back into the kitchen. Allison, be reasonable, he pressed, frustration rising. This isn't the time for pride. It's not pride, I said. It's respect. Decide what you're offering, Dad. Then we'll talk. I hung up, my chest pounding. Saying no felt terrifying, but it also felt right. For years I'd twisted myself inside out, believing effort alone would earn me a seat at the table. But effort wasn't enough, not when my own family saw me as nothing but the cook. Holly's words echoed through me. Don't let them dim your value. I wasn't going back unless they truly recognized mine. In the following days the calls never stopped. Ryan texted saying morale was collapsing. Servers quitting, cooks drowning. Denise emailed that Courtney had missed paying an invoice, risking the seafood supplier cutting them off. Even Mom left a voicemail, her voice uncertain. Allison, I know you're angry, but we're struggling. Can we talk? I ignored it. Mom's silence at that meeting had stung as badly as Dad's decision. By the 10th day the fallout spread. A local food critic wrote that Parker's was just a shadow of what it used to be. Yelp filled with complaints about uneven dishes and slow service. I tried to stay detached, but every update wore me down. Parker's wasn't just work. It was part of my legacy. But saving it would mean sacrificing myself, and I wasn't ready for that. Then Holly called. Allison, I heard about Pacific Lux, she said. Are you okay? Not really, I confessed. Dad wants me back, but nothing's different. They still don't understand. They're under pressure now, Holly said. By walking away, you showed them your value. So what's next? I didn't have an answer, but her questions sparked something. I'd poured 10 years into Parker's, but maybe my future wasn't tied to it. Maybe it was time to build something of my own. After 10 days of silence, I agreed to meet Dad and Courtney at a small cafe in Fremont, neutral ground far from Parker's chaos. The decision wasn't simple. Every part of me wanted to keep walking away, but Holly's words wouldn't stop echoing. Prove your worth. I wasn't going back to salvage their sinking ship without a real reckoning. Pacific Lux's $1 million contract was gone, and desperation was written all over them. This was my chance to dictate terms, not beg for crumbs. I arrived early, picking a corner table with a clear view of the entrance. The cafe buzzed with morning chatter, baristas steaming milk, locals typing on laptops. I wore a navy blazer over a crisp white shirt, polished but not flashy, sipping an espresso as I rehearsed my conditions. Equal partnership, equity, recognition, non-negotiable. For the first time in years, I felt the power in my hands. Dad and Courtney arrived at 10 sharp, both looking exhausted. Dad's tie was loose, his frown deeper. Courtney's usual polish was gone, hair tied back hastily, blazer wrinkled. They slid into the booth across from me, Dad forcing a strained smile. "Allison," he said, nodding. Courtney just stared, lips pressed thin. "Dad." "Courtney," I said evenly. The server came, took their orders, black coffee for Dad, a latte for Courtney, and left us to the heavy silence. Dad leaned in, wasting no time. "Allison, things are bad. Pacific Lux canceled after Courtney's meeting. Eric said he expected your menu, your quality. We need you to repair this." I took a measured sip of espresso, letting the weight of his words linger. "I know," I said. "Eric called me himself. Told me Courtney pitched burgers and stir-fry, not what we'd promised. He pulled out because the trust we built is broken." Courtney's cheeks flushed red. "That's not fair," she snapped. "I was showing them ways to save money. You're the one who abandoned us, Allison, leaving us to clean up after you." "My mess?" I asked, one brow arched. "I nurtured that relationship with Eric for 3 years. Tastings, tweaks, midnight calls. You destroyed it in one meeting because you don't even know the menu." "Enough," Dad barked, his tone sharp. "This isn't about blame. We're out $1 million, Allison. Eric won't answer Courtney's calls. You need to step in." I leaned back, arms crossed. "Step in? As head chef, taking orders from Courtney again? That's not happening. If you want my help, we need to talk about why I left." Dad groaned, rubbing his temples. "Fine, then tell me. What do you want?" I'd practiced this moment, yet my pulse raced. "First, I need to know why you chose Courtney as CEO. The real reason, not the business skills excuse. I ran the kitchen, the partnerships, the marketing, for 12 years. Why wasn't that enough?" Dad glanced at Courtney, who stared down, fidgeting with her latte. "The board, your mother, me, we thought Courtney's MBA made her better suited for expansion." He said, "She's got the tools to scale, maybe open more locations. You're incredible in the kitchen, but we needed a leader." "A leader," I repeated, my voice calm but icy. "So my culinary degree, my marketing degree, my $1 million contract. That's not leadership? You gave the role to someone who can't even name our best-selling dish, because she has a piece of paper." "That's not what it was," Dad said, defensive. "The industry is shifting. Chains are merging. Courtney's outlook matched that." "Her outlook," I said, leaning forward. "Her outlook is burgers and frozen shrimp. That's not Parker's. That's not what Grandpa Raymond built or what I turned into a brand." Courtney slammed her cup onto the table, milk splashing over the rim. "You're so dramatic, Allison. I'm trying to keep us profitable, not chase magazine spreads. You're just angry you didn't get the title." I met her glare, steady. "I'm angry because I earned my place and you had it handed to you. You've never survived a dinner rush, never balanced a menu, never closed a partnership. You're not a leader, you're a liability." "Enough, both of you," Dad snapped, raising his voice. "Allison, we're here to fix this, not fight. Pacific Lux is gone unless you talk to Eric. What will it take?" I inhaled deeply, then laid it out. "Equal partnership with Courtney, not under her, not as head chef while she pulls the strings. Real decision-making authority equal to hers. Second, equity in Parker's, reflecting the growth and value I've brought through new menus and partnerships. Third, I wanted open credit for what I've built, not just Allison runs the kitchen. Courtney's mouth fell open. Equal ownership? That's absurd, she snapped. I'm the CEO, Allison. You can't just demand my position. It's not your chair I'm after, I said. It's the recognition I've earned. I doubled sales, brought in Pacific Lux, gave us a reputation. You lost that contract in a week. So explain why you deserve to rule on your own. Dad lifted his hand, stopping Courtney's protest. Sure, she said tightly. This is a family company, Allison. You'll get your part in time. Later isn't good enough, I replied. I've raised Parker's value, launched new dishes, grew our presence online, sealed that $1 million deal. I want fairness now, not a promise that could disappear in the next meeting. Courtney sneered. This is blackmail. You're exploiting a crisis to snatch power. I turned toward her, calm but unshaken. No, Courtney. I'm declaring my value. If a rival hired me tomorrow, and believe me, they've tried, they'd hand me leadership, shares, and respect. Why should I settle for less from my own blood? Dad studied me, eyes sharp, like he was finally seeing me not as his daughter, but as someone too valuable to lose. If we agree, he asked slowly, how do you salvage Pacific Lux? I call Eric, I said. Tell him we're restructuring, keeping the menu and quality he trusted. I'd show him our new dishes, prove consistency. He'd listen because his trust is in me, not Parker's. And you're certain he'd stay? Dad pressed. I can't promise the outcome, I said, but one failed meeting hasn't broken us. Ignoring me will. Dad and Courtney exchanged glances. Her face shifted from rage to frustration to reluctant defeat. We need legal terms, Dad finally said. Put this into writing. Fine, I said. I already have an attorney, hired one the day I walked out. Courtney's eyes widened. You hired a lawyer? This is business, I told her, not just family. But something stirred inside me. I'd walked in ready to claim my place at Parker's. But Holly's question, what's next, kept echoing. Did I really want to return, even with equity, to a place that only valued me when they were drowning? I thought of Grandpa Raymond, who created the bistro from nothing. Not out of duty but love. I loved it too. But maybe my path wasn't repairing their failures. Actually, I said, lowering my cup. There's another road. I'm not coming back. I'm opening my own restaurant. Dad froze. What? I've got the skill, the connections, the vision, I said. Eric's already hinted he'd follow me. Holly's ready to partner. I don't need Parker's to succeed. I've proven that. Courtney barked a laugh. Bluffing. You can't just start fresh. You need us. Do I? I asked, locking eyes with her. I created Parker's image from the ground up. The recipes, the deals, the hype, that was all me. You're the ones who need me and you lost me. Dad's face went pale. Listen, we can fix this. Shares, partnership, whatever it takes. Too late, I said, rising. You made your decision when you crowned Courtney. I'm making mine. I'm building something new on my terms. I walked out, the cafe noise fading behind me. My chest raced, but I felt lighter than I had in years. For so long my worth was tied to Parker's, to their approval. Now I was betting on myself. 3 months later, I stood inside the kitchen of my own place, Allison's table, watching the first plates leave the line on opening night. The spot, a warm, modern restaurant in Capitol Hill, buzzed with life. Servers carried out tangerine-glazed lobster and yuzu-seared scallops, dishes I'd perfected at Parker's, but now claimed as my own. The air filled with garlic and herbs, and every seat was full. Across the room, Holly, my friend turned business partner, flashed me a grin and a thumbs up. I'd done it, created something new entirely on my own terms. The climb here wasn't easy. After walking away from Parker's, I spent weeks drafting plans with Holly. She offered me a role at her Lotus Eatery, but I wanted a space of my own, my vision. We found an old bakery, solid bones, and rebuilt it from scratch. Savings, late nights, endless calls. Eric from Pacific Lux was one of the first I called. If you're cooking, Allison, I'm listening. He didn't just listen. He signed 2 Seattle hotels showcasing my food. $500,000 to start. It wasn't Parker's $1 million deal, but it was mine, earned from trust I'd built. Opening night was a blur of adrenaline. Customers, many once Parker's loyalists, raved about my menu. A critic from the Seattle Times scribbled notes while tasting my miso-glazed cod. This feels like Parker's at its peak, she said with a smile. I didn't tell her. Those dishes were Parker's heart, reborn under my name. By midnight, after the last guests drifted out, Holly pulled me aside. "You did it, Allison. This place is you." But success wasn't only the restaurant. It was shifting my bond with family. A week after I'd left, Mom called, her tone gentler than ever. "Allison, can we meet? Just us." We sat in a quiet coffee shop far from Parker's shadow. She stirred her tea, eyes down. "I should have spoken sooner," she whispered. "I knew how much you gave Parker's. The dishes, the deals, everything." I stayed silent, letting Dad's call stand because I didn't want conflict. "Why?" I asked softly, my throat raw. "You saw me running the place." Her hands trembled. "I grew up believing men lead, women follow. I was wrong, Allison. Watching you walk out, I saw how much we'd failed you." Her words struck deep. Mom had always lived in Dad's shadow. But now she admitted it. "I'm proud of you," she said, squeezing my hand. "You're doing what I never dared to." That moment didn't erase the pain, but it opened a door. We began rebuilding, not just around Parker's but as mother and daughter. Courtney was harder. Parker's faltered after losing Pacific Lux. Yelp reviews crashed, staff quit, suppliers refused credit. A month later she called me. Her voice stiff but shaken. "I didn't expect this," she confessed. "I thought I could manage it." "You thought a spreadsheet was enough," I said gently. "Running a restaurant is more than numbers." "I know," she admitted, softer now. "I'm sorry I dismissed you. Could we talk, not about work, just us?" I hesitated. Her arrogance had cut deep. But she was still my sister. "Yeah," I said at last. "Strike." We met for drinks, awkward but real. She admitted leaning too hard on her MBA, ignoring the soul of the place. I didn't gloat. My leaving said enough. Over time she began asking for my advice, not as a boss but as her sister. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Dad took the longest. He didn't reach out until Allison's table got its first rave review. One night he showed up unannounced, stiff by the bar. "Allison," he said gruffly, "this place is something else. Looks like you didn't need us." "I needed you to see me," I replied, wiping my hands on my apron. "You didn't, so I proved it myself." He nodded, eyes low. "I was wrong," he said. "I thought Courtney's degree made her better. I didn't see how much you carried Parker's." It wasn't a full apology, but close. I poured him a glass of wine, invited him to sit. We spoke, not about business but about Grandpa Raymond, about the early days of the bistro. He started visiting monthly, not to interfere but to eat, to listen. Parker's, under Courtney, shrank. Scaling back, clinging to scraps of my recipes. Not thriving but surviving. I didn't rub it in. Their struggle wasn't my victory. My freedom was. Running Allison's table gave me clarity I never expected. Each day I walked into my kitchen surrounded by a team I handpicked, cooking meals I loved. Ryan, my old manager, left Parker's chaos to join me. Kristen, my line cook, followed too. Even Denise Hart came, delivering seafood with a grin. "Couldn't let you start without me," she teased. Customers came too. Parker's regulars filling my tables, celebrating flavors they loved in a new home. Eric became more than a client, he became a partner, helping me pitch to hotels. Holly, steady as ever, grounded me with her wisdom. Together we built not just food but a brand rooted in authenticity. One night, plating a dish for a critic, I thought of Grandpa Raymond. He began Parker's with nothing but recipes and a dream. He taught me food was more than ingredients. It was heart, memory, connection. I carried that into Allison's table, not to prove anything to them but because it's who I am. Leaving Parker's wasn't abandoning his legacy. It was protecting mine. The lessons were hard. I believed hard work alone would earn respect. That family would recognize my worth unasked. But respect isn't handed. It's taken. Walking away was the hardest choice I ever made. But it forced my family to confront their mistakes, and it forced me to confront myself. I wasn't just a chef or a daughter. I was a woman who knew her value, who refused to shrink for anyone. Now, watching my team move as one, I felt something new. Peace. Allison's table wasn't just a restaurant. It was proof. Proof I could create something better, something mine. My family still existed in my world, but on my terms now, not theirs. Mom's support grew louder. Courtney's respect slowly took root. Dad's visits became bridges, one meal at a time. If you've ever had to walk away just to prove your worth, share your story. Drop it in the comments and let's keep the conversation alive. Knowing your value isn't selfish, it's freedom. And sometimes freedom means building your own table.